Hey everyone, welcome to another speed build. So as you probably saw by the title, I'm doing yet another underground build, but this time I went more of the apocalyptic style and I wanted the ground level to be more of, I don't know, maybe it's just become toxic or just unlivable, so they had to move underground. So I did a lot of like overgrown forest and weird looking plants, and then I made these pools that go underground. I kind of thought it'd be maybe like the local lakes and oceans taking over almost, or having dried up since they're just really little now, but there's some vegetation in there, some algae. I end up darkening the walls and the floor of the pools as well, so it looks like it's just part of natural water opposed to pools, or I guess they could have been pools that were there when there was civilization around on the ground, but I don't know. I just thought it was a kind of fun concept, and I used a whole lot of different plants up top. I wanted it to really look mismatched and just completely overgrown. I definitely did not limit myself on packs. I think I'm pretty sure I used all of the ones that I own for this build. But I definitely had a lot of fun. Doing this took me 3 days because I didn't want to get burnt out and then kind of get lazy on some parts. So I did this whole surface area and most of the layout underground on the first day. And then I did the bedrooms and the kitchen. And then on the third day, I did the main living area. So that way I could give each area, enough attention, because sometimes I feel like I give a lot of attention to like the first couple bits and then I just kind of get lazy and don't do as good as I know that I could do. But I definitely had fun with this part. I sized up and sized down a whole lot of stuff. I even put some of the sea creatures in the water, like not fish, but crawfish and lobsters. They actually look like they're living in there, which I thought was pretty cool. I was going to put those pool decals, the turtle ones, in there, but I forgot. That's just how it was. I just forgot. And then I did the windows thinking that they built their bunker around this concept, but they still wanted a little bit of nature, so they let some light in around the water areas a little bit. And I actually, on two of the areas, or two of the squares, I think they're from Island Living. They're floor tiles, but they're glass, so it's actually not open to the surface. And then the two with the trees sticking out are open to the surface, so I thought that was pretty fun. Maybe the earth caved in a little bit or something like that. And then this is the entrance to their bunker. I think this is where it sort of gets the apocalyptic feel and the bunker feel, just like trying to keep others out or keep people in. I'm not quite sure. But I went with that barbed wire fencing and gate, and then I just added a bunch of these debug fences that are sort of broken and run down, and then I go in and add like the debug stuff from Eco Lifestyle. Yes, Eco Lifestyle is the one that comes with all the trash bags and just piles of trash. I add those as well, and I use from Get to Work the prison cells as sort of swinging doors to this gated area. I thought that added a nice effect, but I'm pretty sure your Sims just walk through them because they don't actually notice them as being real items. That happens when you use items from the debug menu, but I still think it looks cool. It adds to the aesthetic a little bit. And I just thought, like, really cluttering up the place would give it that more realistic, like we've been through an apocalypse, but you know what I mean. Like, people just left stuff around, and there's like toxic waste and just used household items, and of course a mailbox because it's The Sims and you need to have a mailbox on every lot that's not community. And I did end up building this for 7 Sims, or at least there's enough sleeping area for 7 Sims, but you could always, take some out, put another one in. I don't know, that's the build I went with, but I sort of had a feeling that it would be for more than that, like it's almost enough to sustain a whole community under there, but we can only have up to 8, so yes. And then I did put the water and solar things, thinking like maybe they have to create their own electricity and water. I don't know. Obviously, there wouldn't be like electric companies and internet companies and all that if the world had sort of come to an end, but I don't know, maybe there is. And then just sort of lit up the entrance area. I sort of went for like Walking Dead theme, I guess, with this, with just the fencing and the minimal lights. And then this is where I did the layout. It took me a couple tries. I cut some of it out because I wasn't sure how I wanted to lay things out. But I ended up going with maybe this is 2 separate families, and each family has a bedroom for the parents and then a bedroom for their children or teen. Because there is a ladder, I assume there wouldn't be toddlers down here, but you can always change that. So I gave each of the families their own bathroom and kind of put them on each end of the bunker, and I did use the entirety of the lot for this build, so I thought that was fun too. Had a lot of space to play with, but I purposely made the bedrooms as small as I could with them still being functional. And I put all the activity items and all that in the main living area. But yeah, it took me a while to figure out what I wanted the bedrooms to look like. I deleted some of the walls and redid it again, because I think originally I had planned for almost 3 family units, but then I thought 2 was more realistic for the amount of beds I could put in. And just adding more greenery to these underground forest areas. I did have a lot of fun with this concept. I think this will probably be the last underground build I do for a while, just because, I don't know, it gets kind of boring if you do the same thing over and over again, but I have had a lot of fun with them. I think the concept is really fun. I cut out the recording of the bathrooms because they're just very basic, generic bathrooms, and both of them are completely identical. So I figured you didn't need to see that. There's absolutely no clutter in them either. There's just shower, sink, toilet. I did go with the talking toilets, I think, because I figured the technology would be advanced. And then the bedrooms themselves are also very simplistic. There's dresser, mirror, bed, nightstands in each of them, and then a little bit of wall decor, but not too much. I figured they wouldn't really have much with them down here. And I thought those would maybe be the pictures of the Sims in that family, because there would be 4, the 2 children and the 2 parents. And just some very basic decorations. In these curtains, I did make sure they were closable curtains because they have those large windows into their bedroom. So of course they might want to close those for some privacy. So I kept that in mind. And then this is the second family's living quarters, I guess you could say. And I liked those city living trunks as bed tables because it could be like what they use to move what they had down here. I don't know, I just thought that was a nice touch. I did put a little bit of art around because you'll see later on when I add the activity items, I do add some easels, so I figured that maybe they just made that art while they were down here. And some plants as well. They do have a full garden down here as well, as you'll see later. And I figured this would be probably a child's room, a little girl. I do add some stuffed animals, some arts and crafts stuff, and I kept it very pink, sort of, so the parents could give her a more realistic feeling of life while they're down here. Okay, so my whole audio system just crashed, so I don't remember what I was talking about last. But I'm finishing up this little girl's room, and then we're going to move on to the kitchen. Here I figured not only would it be a functional kitchen, but almost like a food storage area because they don't know when they'll be able to venture up to the top again, or maybe they're just storing only things that they grow. So I do add a lot of storage refrigerators and shelving units, and I use a lot of clutter items to just make them look very full. Overall, I do like how this kitchen turned out. I kept the more like industrial steel look. I think it ended up looking pretty good. Probably a little biased because I made it, but that's fine. I couldn't get a matching swatch really for the fridge, but I figured that one worked well enough. I don't know, when are we getting that color wheel? I feel like I complain about this in every build, but it's an issue, okay? And those cabinets, I mean, I guess you can adjust the height of all the overhead cabinets, but considering those are meant to rest on the floor, it was a little confusing and annoying to get them to actually rest on the floor. They kept wanting to raise up or down. And I originally wanted to do the open-faced cabinets, but they didn't fit in quite well. They don't snap together, so I went with the closed ones instead. Lots of seating areas. And I played around with a bunch of different shelving units. I cut most of that out just because I did play around with so many of them. But I ended up going basically with this look. I do change it up a little bit, but this is pretty much what I end up staying with in this room. Those tables, I wanted to use them. I thought they looked really cool, but I do end up getting rid of them later. I like the look of them, like they have that futuristic, nice sleek look to them, but they didn't end up working out. And I added these fridges. I think they're from Get to Work, maybe, because they're either, yeah, I think they're from Get to Work, because I think they're for the medical career. Because it says you can keep like medicines or specimens in there. I don't know. I just like that they were see-through fridges and I end up adding stuff in there. And then this hutch, I add a bunch of the debug bottles on here. I think it looked pretty cool. Made it look more like a storage unit that they would be able to just stockpile and then take from what they need and then either do one supply run or, like I said, they make all their own stuff and just bottle it. I do add some empty bottles to add to that feel as well. And of course coffee, because, you know, coffee is life. even after the apocalypse, you need coffee. And then these baking ingredients, I just stacked them up to make it look pretty cool. Originally I was going to like pile them up on the floor, but I decided they fit pretty well in that little cubby hole there, so I just ended up putting them there. And then these are the empty bottles I was talking about. Apparently whoever is in charge of the kitchen is very neat and orderly. Especially if this is like an apocalypse bunker. And some medicine, I figured they would have some of that on hand, you know. They're bound to get sick once in a while. I tried to use these debug cooking items, but for whatever reason, they kept snapping down almost half a level. I don't know if it's because when your Sims are using them, they're actually at that height, but I couldn't get them to work how I wanted them to, so I ended up not using most of them. I kept just that mixing cup, but that was it. And I put a fire alarm in here, but I do also have the sprinkler system on the exterior of the building as well, so, you know, a little bit of overkill, but that's okay. And then these, you know, bugs in a jar, I think they're fish in a jar or something. I don't know, I just thought it looked pretty cool in that fridge. Added a little extra something, different colors and stuff, different sizes. I just wanted to make this look very full and used. And even these little cubby holes end up putting stuff in. And a lot of the debug items that I wanted to use, I realized that if you go into live mode, they either disappear or your Sims will autonomously clean them up. So I didn't use any of those items. I only used the ones that would remain there and that your Sims would not interact with, because I wanted to use a couple more of those like forks and knives and have them laying around and plates, but your Sims will end up cleaning them up, or when you go into live mode, they just completely disappear. So, and I know the country kitchen kit looks more like cottagecore, but I thought those tin canisters fit really well, especially for this style of build. Help keep stuff preserved a little bit better. And then the bucket of vegetables I thought was good because when I get to the garden center, you'll see that they end up growing fruits and vegetables. Oh, actually, I think I cut that part out. I did end up going in and adding the seeds for fruits, vegetables, and flowers, but I don't think I actually kept that in the recording, or else this would have been like a 40-minute recording, and it's hard enough for me to talk through like 10 minutes, let alone the 20 minutes that this one will end up being. So 40 minutes was just no-go for me. Originally, I wanted to put those pans somewhere like I don't usually put them, but then I just ended up putting them where I usually put them, which is on top of the stove. I didn't add much decor on any of the walls except for the main room, but I did put a couple of the kitchen items like the chalkboard and whatever in this room, and then I ended up putting the cupcake pictures because it looks like something that they could have painted while they're down here. And of course my lighting trick under the cabinets, which I have to do no matter what the build is. I don't know, I just like it. And then these are the cupcake pictures that I was talking about. The pictures that I add in this main living area, which just ends up being a whole empty space, I wanted the wall pictures to be almost like records of times past. So I put like world maps on there and the framed pictures of like royal antiquities and just, I don't know, I wanted it to almost be educational for the children that are in here so they could learn about the world before the end of the world, I guess. And looking at this back, I realized I meant to go back and change the swatches of those yoga mats and stools, but I completely forgot. But I think the color works well with the seating area anyhow, so maybe that's why I forgot, because it just looked like it fit. But I had meant to go and change those swatches, but oops. And then I added 3 different easels, figuring they would have had to hand make them, and just some fitness equipment. You know, if they're surviving in the apocalypse, they gotta stay fit. And then this whole area where the most of the lighting is, I do turn into the garden area. And I put the flower arranging table closer because one of the sections I did end up making for flowers, and then the other ones were all stuff that they could use to make their own food. And then I did set up this technology center. I figure with the stuff above ground that they have generating power, maybe they have some way of surveillance or communicating with other people. I don't know, but I figured that was a nice little touch. And I added the half wall just to break up this huge open space a little bit, but to still keep it pretty open. Wanted to have that very communal feel to this build. Couple decorations here and there. I figured they were stuff that they probably would have made here. Like, they don't have a TV, but I figured they had like the crafting area to keep them busy and occupied. I don't know, I really wanted to give this like a homey feel while still making it known that it's like an underground bunker. And I did put that family whiteboard there because there will be kids in this build, I would assume, or teens. So a little bit of communication. And the cow plant I thought was a nice touch too, like some weird plant that they brought down from the surface or something. And I put that tool collection above the wood workshop bench because I thought that was more fitting. And a bunch of postcards, maybe just memories or pictures that they took from the top. And then I put those architectural posters and the world map and all that stuff, like I said before, just to make it look sort of educational or memorabilia from times past, I guess. I wish we had more plants that were tall that fit in areas like that, but that seems to be the only one that's really usable that isn't like the bamboo. And when I put these yarn balls in the basket, I think it looks pretty cool in the end because I ended up stacking them up so it looks just like a pile of yarn. Like the 2 double layers, I think that looked good. And then I really didn't do much else to the build. I just did a really basic wall color and made that worn linoleum look inside the entrance to the bunker. There's a couple survival things in there, and that is the end of the build. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will see you all next time. Bye!